Thank you very much for this. Now, for some serious stuff. I believe each and every single one of us in this room shares the same condition. It's a condition that affects us every single day, in every single interaction that we have, in every single thing that we do. It affects how we acted last night, with or without the alcohol. It affects our attitude today. It affects what we do today. It affects what we do in our work. It affects what we do in JCI in general. How many of you have heard of PMA?
BMA?
PMA. Right there.
Yeah.
Here it is. Thank you.
Is that cooking management something?
Puking management attitude, is that? Puking management. That is our new JCI Academy. Because Annalisa showed us how we acted at events. So we need to have an academy for that. Also, the opposite condition of this, which I believe that too many people share. It's called NMA. Now, aside from the Puking Management Academy, what did you say?
Something positive, something negative.
Good, excellent. That's exactly it, actually. This stands for attitude. This gorgeous handwriting that I have. This is mental. And this is positive. So PMA stands for positive mental attitude. And I genuinely believe that everyone in this room shares that. Otherwise, you wouldn't invest your time in projects for helping others if you didn't believe that they are going to have a positive impact. If you thought that they are going to be a waste of your time, if you thought nobody's going to come, if you thought it's not going to work, no one's going to like it, all signs of the NMA, or the negative mental attitude. This is one of the most wonderful things we have in JCI, is this environment where we have a lot of people with a positive mental attitude. And it's an environment that, we talked about it with somebody today, that sometimes we take things for granted. But it's an environment that we can just as easily lose, especially on a local level. Because here at a conference, it's easy to be positive. Here everybody's having fun, we're talking about some interesting things. The work is done by the organizers. For them, I don't know. How is it a positive mental attitude? And you can tell that was very honest. But when we go back home and we struggle with recruiting new members, when we have people who we really rely upon, who tell us that something happened in their life, or they want to choose something else right now, and they don't have time for JCI, or stuff gets in the way. I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. Then we sometimes might end up with an enemy. Which sounds like an enemy as well. And that's a perfect fit, because that never helps. Now, positive mental attitude, just a quick word about it. I don't mean that we're always seeing flowers and roses everywhere, that the world is a happy, happy place, and we are taking our Prozac every day. But I do mean that we put effort and we expect to get positive results. We might not always get positive results, but if we expect to get negative results, we will get negative results most of the time. Now, I did that on purpose. Now, with that being said, the environment in our local chapters, this is what we're going to be talking about, puking. How many of you enjoy puking?
Depends.
How many of you have ever puked? The guys are like, oh, I have 2 hands up. Last night, someone puked last night? No, you don't have to tell us. Now, and how many of you would really enjoy if someone came and puked all over you? Oh, there's always one crazy person. What we are going to talk about today is puking as a metaphor, because when somebody new comes, and I will demonstrate this, like I promised, visually. When somebody new comes, and we're talking about all the negative stuff that happens, to us, it's like we're puking all over. Like, how many of you have friends that, or maybe not friends, but people you know, who you are afraid to ask, how are you? Because you know they're going to answer. And it's going to take 15 minutes. And you're like, yeah, see you soon. Or you're like, yeah, I want to spend my entire day with you. That is because when somebody comes and shares with us all of the negative stuff that's going on, it's exactly like puking all over us. And that doesn't mean that we don't have to talk about the negative stuff that happens to us. The idea of puking up is that there is a right way of doing it, and a way, oh, right way and wrong. I was going to say right way and wrong way, but there is a way that gets us a happier environment and better results, and a way that creates a more suppressing environment, depressing environment, and more negative results. And hopefully, by the end of this little act that we're going to have, because at some point I'm going to ask for some participation as well. And don't worry, it's not going to be that scary.
You have to puke.
Yes.
You don't need to listen to the guys.
I hope by the end you will all remember how we can create this more positive environment. You all know, now that you know I have a coat, I will take it off. And ready for the big reveal?
Rakia.
Exactly. Here glasses. Now, depending on where we are, there are bottles as well. Coming soon. Depending on where we are in our development as people, and especially when it comes to a specific task, we are at a different capacity for how much negativity we can take. For example, if you are in sales, and you've been in sales for 15 years, and you're a top salesperson, you can take a lot of negative things. But if you just started in sales, you're like 19 years old, and you just, for the first time, you're calling your first customers, your tolerance for negativity is a little lower. And what we're going to do is we're going to have, how many, is there somebody here who is not a JCI member? Just, okay, everybody's a JCI member, excellent. So we're going to have the example with a local JCI chapter or a national organization, where depending on where the people are in the organization, how long they've been in the organization, how much time they've put into their chapter or their national organization, they have a different capacity for the negativity. And these will represent our wonderful new members who have just come. They just come to our first meeting, and you know what sometimes happens? If they've come to the meeting and we're just organizing the Balkan conference, and we were very excited that this is going to be an international event and it's going to be very easy to find sponsors. Because sponsors love international events, they just want to throw money at you, right? Right? We all know that. But sometimes, they don't want. Not every time, but sometimes. Let's just imagine for a minute that is one of those times where they didn't want to. And where they didn't want to for a few months. Like we've been trying, we've contacted 200 companies.
Can we imagine that, Sven?
Yeah, let's just imagine that. Because it never happens, that's what I'm saying. I hope you have a good imagination. But we've had 2 months where we've tried to get sponsors. We've contacted sponsors. The project manager and the person in charge of sponsorships have been calling, like I said, 200 companies, sending emails, meeting with everybody. Oh no, we just finished our budget. No, we're not interested in international events, we're more like a local company. Oh no, we don't have any right now any money. Oh, we don't have anyone to send you the banner, so we can't give you the money, or whatever. And this has been going on for 2 months. And a new recruit comes in who wants to join our local chapter, who is organizing this event. And he comes to our meeting for the Balkan conference. And we need to discuss what's going on, what's happening. Now, just for the sake of example, let's say this is Sven, and this is Helena. Just 2 random names I picked up. Sven will be the COC, and Helena will be the sponsorships director. And because we all know that Sven is very negative, let's say that Sven is the negative one. And Sven took a lot of hits from those. This is Bulgarian puke. So, Sven is near the limit of how much she can pay. How much? She's had it up to here. She's tired of all these problems that's been going on, and she needs to share with someone. And of course, the people who come to the meeting, they're new and they want to join the project, but she wants to tell them exactly what's going on in this project. And they come like, yeah, let's go. This is going to be such a fun event. It's going to be so much. It's going to be so successful. And she's like, yeah, of course. But, you know, no sponsors are coming today because we were supposed to have a sponsorship meeting, but they decided that they're going to quit. And also, last week, two sponsors backed out because they almost signed the contract, but they said that they're not gonna support us because they didn't like the color of the logo. Just for a sake of example, let's say Sven had some time to have some more negativity. So she keeps telling these new recruits all these wonderful things that are happening, and she starts filling their cups with these gorgeous negative emotions. Now, what happens when one of these cups, when your capacity for negativity overflows? Do you stay in that place?
No.
You go.
You leave that place, right?
If you're smart.
If you're a masochist,
Yeah.
you stay in that place. Are there any masochists here? Good. Thank you for staying with us. So now, what really happens is most people, of course not everybody, but most people, when their cup overflows, they will leave. And the thing is, this works in between themselves as well. Because this person might be brand new. He just came to the meeting, the first meeting. There was no negativity. Everyone was positive with him. He's going to be the salesperson for the event. He's going to come up with the sponsors. He's going to talk to the sponsors. So he talked to 5 or 10 sponsors potential, and they canceled for him. They didn't want to give him some money. And now he has a little bit of negativity in his cup. But the others were already at that meeting where Sven puked all over them. And not because she was drinking last night, because we all know she doesn't do that. But now their capacity is by their limits, and when this person comes around and he's like, oh, the sponsors suck, they're so terrible, nobody wants to join JCI to help JCI, their cups also overflow. Now these are the worst example of what we can do in our chapter. Puking down. This is when, sorry.
Take some.
Don't die on my stage, please.
It's gonna be on camera anyway. So, it's that bad. No, what really happens is, thank you. This is a cup of positivity, which we can also overflow with. But that's not a topic. Now, what happens is, if we start with this, creating this environment, puking down, and I this in JCI terms, but I'm sure you can all try to translate this into whatever your business is, and we'll talk about it in the end, how we can translate it into our business or into even our personal life. But when somebody who has little experience, who is very excited but not really well prepared for what's coming in reality, and you give him this wonderful talk, you puke all over him, his capacity really quickly can overflow, because you can take more than him. In this example, you're a project manager, so supposedly you've been in the organization a little bit longer. And the worst way that we can do this is by puking down. And that doesn't mean only Sven, Elena. We can also have Donald and Daisy, who are two local chapter presidents here. Now, they've really seen some shit. Daisy, she has seen a lot, and Donald has seen a little bit less. He was lucky. And now, as you see, Sven, she can take all these new recruits, she can take a lot from their negativity. And now I'll explain a little bit more about that. She can take, I think, all of them. There we go, right on the edge. And she will still not be overfilled with negativities because she's worked. That's what I meant on the capacity side that we have. When we work on ourselves, when we grow as a person, when we work on our personal development, we increase how much stuff we can take. How much stuff we can take. And that way we can actually help others. Because the other people who are not as experienced, who cannot take as much, that's what our job is, to help them out when they are struggling, to tell them, come, tell me what's going on. And to build an environment where that is not happening in between themselves. Because if they just do that in between themselves, you saw it, even if this person has just a little bit of negativity, and this one is full all the way to the top, even just a little bit of negativity can tip the balance, and this guy can quit or girl. So, if you puke sideways, which is people who are on your level, these are people who don't have more experience than you. They can't help you really solve your problem. If you puke down on people who have even less experience than you, instead of solving your problem, what happens is you're creating an impossible situation for them because they have enough trying to solve their own issues right now, and then you're giving them stuff that even you don't know how to solve, and they don't know how to solve, and no one knows how to solve, and we don't know what to do, so let's just leave this, and I don't want to be part of JCI or work in this company anymore. And that doesn't mean that when you are a project manager, that you're invincible. The person who has more experience can also give the same thing to you. This cup can also overflow, just as easy. The idea, like I said, this is puking down again. Because the local chapter president, he has 5 other projects, not just this one. This is one of the projects that he's been doing. Huh?
I said now as a COC director and preparing all of this, I was puking up all the time.
Excellent! Excellent!
Fortunately, I had enough
Great
advisors.
teamwork.
I was puking up so much that I had enough advisors to...
We loved it. We loved it.
Exactly.
So
Perfect.
proud of you.
Doing exactly the right way.
Thank you.
So, excellent. That's a perfect environment because the national and the local president in this case has, like I said, 5 other projects. So he has 5 other project managers who are puking in his cup. Like we don't have sponsors for the Balkan conference. Yeah, we don't have sponsors for the refugee project, and we're also struggling to find volunteers for that conference, for a business conference that we're doing in Zagreb next week. Every single person is coming up to him, so he is, or she is trying to solve those issues, and his or her cup is filling up. But he also has someone else to go to who is supposed to be more experienced. That's the general idea, and if that person doesn't have anyone to go to, because the final one, of course, ends up not having anyone to go to, right? Normally, there should be someone who's at the top. And that person is usually someone with a lot of experience. Hopefully, it's someone with a lot of experience. We know some other examples sometimes. But that person can really take all of this. Doesn't matter.
Lucky him.
Everybody can come up to him. The national president is invincible. Because he has invested a lot in growing his skills, he has a lot of experience. And that person can solve those issues if you puke up. Because if you puke up, you come across example of problems that the other person has already solved. Because you were struggling with things that you didn't know what to do. But Sven and Helena had those issues in the past, so they knew how to help out with that. But if you came up to somebody who is brand new, who never organized an event, and you told him, how do we negotiate the price for the gala? What do we do? What leverage do we use? I don't know. And that's why, if you puke down, bad things happen. If you puke up, good things happen. And the way you increase your capacity is with different things you can work on. Let me have a little help from you guys. How do you think we can increase our capacity for how much
You buy a
puke we can take?
bigger bowl.
That is a very, very good example. Very good answer. Round of applause. Other ways we can do that.
Exposure therapy. You know,
Exposure.
like gaining more and more, exposing yourself to these situations and gaining experience. So.
Okay, exposing yourself. Do you think just exposing yourself to these situations is enough?
Just clear your problem. You have to work on yourself and your abilities to deal with stress and with experience and with rising as a person, developing as a person. You'll be able to understand other people, to be more abstract and to get them very personally when they speak to you. So it all has to do with you growing as a person.
Absolutely.
Building up your emotional capacity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having a good mentor.
Having a good mentor. Okay, excellent. So are there any other ways, aside from having a good mentor, that we can use to develop ourselves? Paraphrasing question. What other ways can you come up?
Reading, coming to these sessions and things like that.
Educate.
Exactly. There's a lot of ways you can do that. The point is, we all know what we can do. Like, for example, I've known that meditation helps with focus and helps dealing with stress for years. I've read about it so many times, and there's scientific proof which shows exactly how your brain changes when you meditate regularly. And I've known that for years. And knowing that, did that help me?
Yeah.
Not really. What helped me was when I actually started doing that. When I started reading, when I started meditating, when I started going to seminars. That's when your capacity increases. So just by becoming a new member, and then by becoming a local chapter president, exposing yourself to the problems is never enough just to do that on your own. Because that just fills up your cup with negativity. and you might end up with a little bit bigger cup if you're lucky. But for the most part, you're just going to have a small cup full of negativity, and you're going to be in this position pretending that you have a bigger cup. Now,
Can you add a little bit to Helena?
No, it's okay. My glass is empty, I'm happy.
Helena is a happy person. With her, I was going to use the example for puking up, but she, like she already showed, she has a much bigger capacity than this small cup. Now, the idea of why I'm saying it's puking, because exactly this is one of the worst things we can do, even in our businesses. When a new member, for example, how many of you are in marketing? Okay, have you had stagiaire, how is the word for this? A new intern. Yes, an intern.
Internship. Intern.
An intern who comes up to you and doesn't know anything about marketing. What is the best way to help him out? By telling him what? By helping him out with knowledge and support, or by telling him that all the bad stuff that has happened to you in the past, so he can be prepared for that. This is the first example of helping and supporting. This is of telling him all the bad things.
Well, it's correct.
If you think is this, say yes.
Yes.
If you think is this, say no.
No.
Okay, some people are following. Okay, so the idea of puking up is that we need mentors, and we need to find those mentors. We can find those mentors everywhere. It doesn't mean they don't need to be even alive. I spend a lot of time with people who are not alive.
Offline.
Don't tell us.
Black magic.
Reading.
I can include that.
We can meet people who are not among us anymore by reading, and other ways as well. But I'm talking about reading. I don't know what you guys are thinking about that. And because I really want to make this point come across, just so we all know how terrible it is when we are negative to newer. It doesn't matter if it's newer people actually, because like I said, it can be among local chapter presidents as well. When we gather for a board meeting, when we're talking about, we can discuss, of course, some of the issues that we have. But in my example, especially in sales, when I was in sales in 2008, 2009 in the US and the UK, they told us when you are with the other salespeople who are at your level, there were different levels, tell them only about all the great things that happened to you today. Like when you come back home, we used to live together, like 4 or 5 people together. When you come back home, usually, what do we usually do when somebody tells us, oh, I had a bad day, this happened? We tend to be like, oh, you think that's bad? Let me tell you what's bad, what happened to me. And they told us, play a game with it, play a game, and instead of doing that, when you come back, tell the story of, this awesome thing happened to me today. And the other person is like, oh no, you think that's awesome? Let me tell you what's awesome, what happened to me today. And that sounds very cheesy, very American, and all that stuff. But the truth is that the people who didn't follow that, especially because on the second year I was a sales manager, I was trying to teach people that. The people who didn't follow that, who are acting their normal way, like, oh, this happened, and yeah, I know, it's the same with me. Connecting because we're connecting through the pain that we're sharing. Those people had very, very low results. Very low results. A lot of them quit as well. The ones who did this cheesy American thing, about 3 times higher results on average. And that's exactly how important puking up is, because they also needed to puke somewhere, but they would go to their manager, in this case me, and tell me, oh, these things happened to me today, it was terrible, it sucked, it was so bad. And I would know what to tell them what to do. Now, the final thing that I want to do for this little puking session is to really demonstrate how a meeting can go if it's positive or negative. So, are there any volunteers for joining me on stage?
Niksha.
Picture.
What picture? Okay. Okay, Sven, I see you raise your hand first. I use your name. And I need one more volunteer as well. Okay, will you join them? Can we give them a round of applause? I can't really clap properly. Now. What I want from you girls, come on, just 10 seconds and I'll tell them what. Okay. So, before we start, because this is going to be, you come over here. Before we start, I want to do this, something to encourage them a little bit. To encourage them a little bit. Wait. But we're going to do it a little bit different. What I want everybody to do is, I will ask them to say their names, and I want everybody to give them a lot of energy because they're going to need energy for the next part. And the way we do that is you focus your energy. Channel energy like this with your hands. Like go, yeah, like go. And then you repeat their name like, just an example. She says Sven, and I say, everybody can repeat Sven. And while I'm saying that, you're also saying Sven, and then you say it, and you're sending the energy to Sven. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In the meantime, while we're doing that, in order for you to receive that energy, you need to be like an antenna. So you need to be like an antenna, and it's very important to move your fingers to receive the energy. Or you can be like that as well. Okay.
I can do that, depends on how hard you will,
Okay, let's see. So, can you tell us your name?
Sven.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sven.
I sent you.
What's your name?
Alexandra. Right now, Sven and Alexandra are the project managers for the Balkan conference, and they wanted me to come and join their team because they heard that I can talk to people, and they wanted to share with me the awesome event and everything that's going to happen.
So, Yavor.
Hi Sven, how are you? So good to see you. I'm very excited about it. I know, right? So I'm so happy to invite you. It sounds amazing.
Beautiful team. Beautiful team. Imagine this. Yeah. So, 10 people in our CO2 team. 10 people. And today I just woke up, and Peter said that he's ill and he cannot work with me anymore. And I say, really, Peter, I'm so glad that you will be able to work for yourself. Because my time is not working at all. I'm so happy that you were 2 weeks before saying that to me. And then Maria told me and said, yeah, and Maria, such a nice name. So Maria also told me, and Maria also told me, that she her chakra, she thought that she needs to invest more time in her, and her chakra is not in a good place. So her chakra is black. And she doesn't want to be black, she wants white chakra or yellow chakra, and for that she needs time. So I gave her time for white chakra because my chakra is not colored, so we need more colors of that. And you know, Peter.
Wait a second, I have something.
Okay.
And thank God you show up.
I feel very happy
Right
to
on
show up as
time.
well.
Right on time.
This is exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. And, give me a call in a couple of weeks.
This felt good. You see?
That's not the point. It's not supposed to be.
You should try it on the meeting.
Can we do it one more time properly? I promise I will not enjoy this one.
Thank you, girls.
You're welcome.
It's funny, right?
It's fine for you. Go. Oh, yeah.
It's funny right now, and we're exaggerating it.
Please give me this.
And yet, sometimes we do that. Sometimes we do that. I hope that the next time, when somebody new comes in the room and just had a terrible day in JCI, or you had some bad day in your personal life or in your professional life, doesn't matter, that person comes in excited, wanting to do something together with you, to remember this is what we don't want him to feel. Remember that we want him to feel empowered. That's what JCI is about, right? But it's not just JCI. We want to have everybody around us feel empowered. Am I right? If you think everybody should be empowered, say yes.
Yes! Well, no. No! I don't think
That
everybody.
also we have
Yeah, of course, Hitler's
Crazy whackers out there. I don't want everybody empowered.
Sorry, I can't really breathe properly.
No more empowered is mine,
Have a nice walk.
Okay, good job. No problem.
I get
My
over
point
it.
was, next time when somebody new comes in the room, remember, don't puke down. Next time when you're discussing with your co-workers or with your other fellow JCs who are roughly the same, have the same experience as you, don't puke sideways. When that feeling comes, remember to puke up.
You can not stop in your place.
With a straw, so it goes up in the other person's cup. And because of you will use
Focus.
targeted puking like this, so it lands in the other person's cup. I hope you guys remember that the next time you have a negative experience. Find the mentor to help you puke up.